The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
To register for School Readiness Program assessments, you will need the following information: the last 4 digits of your EFS provider ID number and your extension number. These can be found on your School Readiness attendance roster. If your attendance roster isn't available, your Early Learning Coalition can assist you. To complete the registration process, you must enter the names, email addresses, birth dates, and education and qualification information for each of your instructors assigned to classrooms with birth to kindergarten entry aged school readiness funded children enrolled in them. Let's get started. To get started, enter the address below into your web browser. Google Chrome works best. It's very important that you click the Get Started button on the bottom right of the Welcome page. On the right side of the screen that you see is the Welcome to the School Readiness Program Assessment Get Started button. Please be sure that you are clicking the purple Get Started button on the right-hand side. The next page is the provider registration. Be sure to click Provider Registration, the blue button on the right side. To register, you will be required to enter all of the information on this page. You must choose your Early Learning Coalition from the drop-down box. You must select the county that your provider or program operates in. You must enter the last 4 digits of your provider ID, and you must enter your provider extension. The zip code for the program is also required on this page. After you've entered all of the information, you click Register. Those of you who successfully enter your information will receive a registration confirmation. You should see an ID number in the middle of the page. You will want to make sure to write this ID number down, as it is your ID number for the School Readiness Program assessments. You will also be asked to create a password on this page. Enter your choice of password and click Create at the bottom of the page. If you receive a message that your data does not match, you will need to contact your Early Learning Coalition to confirm that you are entering the correct 4-digit provider ID and extension number, as well as the zip code. You will not be able to go any further in the process until your information is correctly entered. The next question will determine whether you need to register or not. It asks you to answer yes or no to the question, do you serve any school readiness children aged birth to kindergarten entry? If you answer no, you will be directed to contact your Early Learning Coalition to verify that you do not have to complete the registration process. Again, if you do not have any birth to kindergarten entry aged school readiness children, you need to contact your coalition to make sure that you do not need to register. If you answer yes to the previous question, you will be directed to the Acknowledgement page. All information on this page is required to be entered before you can proceed. The system will pre-populate certain information, but you will be asked to provide the name of the person submitting the registration, the job title of the person, as well as their email address. And you must click the box at the bottom agreeing to allow class observations to be conducted at your site. Once you do that, the purple button will become active and you may click it to progress to the next page. The next page is the provider profile. Again, some of the information pre-populates, but you are required to enter the rest such as a contact name, a phone number, and an email address of the person who should be contacted if there are any questions about this registration. Whether you are located in a poverty tract or not will be pre-populated from the system. You do have to answer the question, are you a license exempt provider, yes or no? Are you currently Gold Seal? If so, which agency is your accrediting body? Are you currently participating in a quality rating and improvement system? And are you currently implementing child assessments using one of the 3 Office of Early Learning approved child assessment tools? After you've entered all required information, click the purple button to advance to the next screen. At any point in the process, should you need to go back to previous screens, click the previous button. If you need to exit the program, please remember to click Save and Exit. That's found on the bottom left of the screen. The next page will ask you about the enrollment at your child care program. You must enter your program capacity, the total number of children enrolled from all funding sources, the number of children birth to kindergarten entry enrolled, and of that number, how many of those children are school readiness funded. After you've entered this information, click Next. At this point, you'll be asked to add your instructors and your directors. On the left is the screen to add a new instructor. You enter the person's name, their last name, their middle initial, and their role at your child care center. Every child care center must have at least one director added to their roster, as well as all of the school readiness instructors teaching in classrooms with birth to kindergarten entry aged school readiness children in them. You do not need to add substitutes, part-timers, or floaters. You are going to add the person who is in the classroom on a daily basis and is most likely to be present on the day that the class observation takes place. On the right side, you will notice that the staff person by the name of Jenny Doe has been added to the roster. As you add instructors and directors, they will appear on the right-hand side of the screen. In order to remove a person in case you erroneously enter one, you simply click the Remove button to the right of the person's name. And you continue this process until you have added all of the instructors and directors that are required to be entered for this school readiness program assessment. After you have completely added all of the instructors and directors at your site, you will see the next screen is the Instructor Details page. You will be asked to enter an email address, and that must be an individual's email address and not one that is used by the center or a general inbox. You must also enter their date of birth. You must also enter their effective date, which the system will default to the day that you enter this information, but you can override that and change that information to a previous date. You enter their highest education level by making a selection from the drop-down box, as well as their highest credential level. And then you click Next. The following screens will ask you to add your classrooms. The note at the bottom says you're required to enter all school readiness, birth to kindergarten entry classrooms that your program offers. Failure to do so may have an impact on meeting the requirement for program assessment. You will not have the opportunity to add or edit classroom information after your registration has been submitted. You will be asked to provide for every school readiness birth to kindergarten entry aged classroom a classroom name, and then you will be asked to select a class tool based on the age of the children in that classroom. For example, if you have a classroom with children who are in the 24-month range, you would select the toddler tool. You can click the What's This button beside the class tool name to have a description. You can also click the drop-down box to select whether the room is an infant room from 0 to 18 months, or whether it's a toddler room from 19 to 35 months, or whether it's considered a preschool classroom. And you also will add at this time a date that the classroom opened. Please remember not to put future classrooms, only those classrooms currently in existence. As you add classrooms, you will see the classroom list develop on the right side. As you see in the screen on the right, I've added the red room. In order to remove this room, if I've made a mistake, I simply click the Remove button to the right of the name of the classroom. The next screen is the Classroom Details screen. You will be asked again to confirm, to verify the information that you entered on the previous screen. You may also at this time give an optional description of the classroom. After you've entered this information, you click the Next button. After you have entered all instructors and all classrooms that are required, you must assign your instructors to the classrooms. Each instructor must be assigned to one classroom and may not be assigned to more than one. However, classrooms may have more than one instructor assigned to them. For example, an infant room may have more than one instructor. Those instructors may be assigned to the infant room, but may not be assigned to any other rooms. Directors are not required to be assigned to a classroom unless they are a primary instructor in that classroom. In order to assign a classroom with the instructor, you simply click on the name of the instructor from the list at the top, scroll down the page to the new assignment for whichever name you picked, click on that, and then you will see a drop-down list of classrooms, and you just simply click Assign to make the assignment. The last step in the registration process is to review the information that you have submitted, to click the Previous button if you need to make any changes. If no changes are necessary, you click the Confirm and Submit button. You will get a final opportunity to review the information, and you'll have a final Confirm and Submit button. Remember, please, you must click Confirm and Submit 2 times. You will receive a confirmation of your registration if you have successfully completed all of the steps required. At this time, we are going to go to the live website and show you the steps. As we walk through each of the steps, you will see what it looks like as we actually complete a registration. When you log in, you will see on the right side the Get Started button for the School Readiness Program Assessment. The next step is for you to click the Provider Registration. You will then click the drop-down button to choose your Early Learning Coalition. In this case, I've selected the Early Learning Coalition of Miami-Dade Monroe, and I have the box automatically filled in Dade County. It defaulted to Dade County, but I also could select Monroe County. The next box asks for your last four digits of your provider ID from the EFS system, and then your provider extension. The last step is to enter the zip code for the program. The next step is that you receive a registration confirmation if your information was correctly entered into the system and the system recognizes you as a school readiness provider. You will notice that the provider name and their location has pre-populated. And in the middle of the page is the user ID that you will be required to remember or write down in the event that you are like a lot of us and have a lot of ID numbers and you wish to retain that information. It will be your login information for the School Readiness Program Assessment System from now on. You will be asked to create a password, and to do that, you will enter your password and then you will click the Create button at the bottom. The next step is to answer the question whether you serve school readiness children ages birth to kindergarten entry. At this point, you will begin the acknowledgement. After you've entered the name of the person submitting the registration and their job title, you also enter their email, and then you must click the box that you agree to class observations by coalition staff or third-party evaluators for any and all classrooms at the site. Otherwise, you are not able to advance through the registration. You will see that the application date, the provider name, the coalition, the category, and the address, as well as the county, are all pre-populated for you. The phone number will also be, but for purposes of this demonstration, I've added a generic phone number. You'll also be asked to fill in the email address for a contact person at the site. In this case, the provider is not located in a poverty tract, according to the U.S. Census. And we will answer the questions because if I try to go ahead, I'll get a message that I am not allowed to proceed until I have answered these questions. I'm going to answer, no, I'm not license exempt, and then the information about whether I'm Gold Seal populated, and then I'm going to say yes, that I'm involved in a quality improvement and rating system, and then I'm going to pick one of the 3 OEL approved child assessment tools. And I will click Next to proceed. I'm going to make up some numbers. I'm going to say that I have a capacity of 50. I have 45 of the children out of the 50 are enrolled. I'm going to indicate that 45 of the children are birth to kindergarten entry age children. In other words, I have no school age children in my program. And of that number, how many of them are birth to kindergarten entry aged school readiness children? And then I click Next. And then I'm going to be asked to enter my instructors. And I'm going to enter an instructor. I will click Add, and then the person's name will appear under my roster. So I have Jane Doe, and if I need to change something in the spelling or if I need to remove her, because she's not with the school readiness program, or for some other reason, I can simply click remove and she will be gone from the roster. So I'll add another person. And I'll add Billy to the roster. You'll notice I did not select a director. I have to give Billy an email address. And a birth date. And I have to enter Billy's effective date. It's defaulted to today's date. I can change that date to another date if I wish. I also can choose from the drop-down box Billy's highest education level and then any credential that Billy might have. Remember to enter an email address that is unique for that person and not a general inbox email. Again, this is defaulted to the day that the person was added to the roster, but that can be edited. I'm going to pick Jane's education level as well as whether Jane has a credential or not. So I received an error message because, as you recall, there has to be at least one director for every site. You can enter more than that, but you have to at least enter one. If I go back, I'm going to potentially lose my data. So at this point, I would want to save and exit and log back in. But for purposes of the demonstration, I'm simply going to change Jane to the director role. So again, make sure that before you go back to a previous screen for the instructor roster, that you click Save and Exit and log back in so that you don't lose your instructor data and that requires that you enter it all over again. So I've changed Jane to a director because you're required. So now I have one instructor and one director at my site. And I'm going to go ahead and click Next. The message above was about the classrooms, and we saw that in the PowerPoint slides, that you're required to enter your classrooms for your birth to kindergarten entry aged school readiness children. So if you have a classroom that has any school readiness children in that classroom and that classroom's age range is from birth to kindergarten entry, you must include them in the registration process. I'm going to give a classroom, give it a name. I'm going to indicate that this is a toddler room. That means that most of the children in the room are between 19 to 35 months. If you have a classroom, particularly family child care home, that you have to have a mixed age range, you want to pick the tool that would best fit the majority age range for the children in your care. You may even have to go so far as to look at their birth dates to see where they fall in this range. I'm going to pick the toddler, and I'm going to say that this classroom, I'm going to go back a couple of years. I'm going to say that classroom's been there since January the 4th of 2016. I'm going to click Add to the List, and I'll now see the blue birds on the right side of the page. If I need to remove that classroom, I can do so by clicking the Remove button up until the point that I submit. Once I've submitted, I can no longer edit the classroom list or the instructor director roster or any other information that was entered during the registration process. For time's sake, I'm going to pretend that there's only one classroom at this site. And I'm going to say, yes, I did enter all of my kindergarten, birth to kindergarten entry school readiness classrooms. I will have a chance to look at the information, and I can also provide an optional description of the classroom if I would like to at this time. I have no changes to make, so I'm going to click Next. And this is the page where I assign instructors to the classroom. Remember that Billy is my instructor, so Billy has to be assigned to at least one classroom. I'm going to click Billy's name, and then I come down and I click where it says New Assignment for Billy. So I click on Billy's name, and then I will have a drop-down box that contains my classrooms. I click on my classroom name, click Assign, and then now I see where Billy is assigned to the Bluebirds. Jane does not require an assignment to a classroom because she is the director. The only time Jane would have an assignment would be if she was also a primary instructor in that room. In this case, we're going to add her also to the Bluebirds room. So I will repeat what I said about the classrooms, that you can assign each person to only one room, but a room could have more than one person assigned. As you see in this case, both Billy and Jane are assigned to the Bluebirds room. After I've entered all my assignments, I click the next page, and I come to the Confirm and Submit button. At this point, it's important to stop and consider all of the information that you entered, because this is your opportunity to change anything that you've entered during the registration process. So you want to look at your enrollment, your list of instructors, the classrooms, and then which classroom each instructor is assigned to. If you want a copy of this, you should make sure that you click the Export button at this time, as it will not be available to you after you have submitted the registration. Everything looks fine to me. It's what I entered. It's it gives me the instructors and the classrooms and the assignments and the enrollment at my site. So I'm going to go ahead and confirm and submit this. I get one more opportunity to review my classroom, the age range for that classroom, and the status date. If I need to make a change to that, I would click Edit, and the system would take me back to the classrooms page. But this looks fine to me. I'm going to go ahead and click Confirm and Submit. And then I get a confirmation that I have successfully submitted my registration for the School Readiness Program assessments. And that concludes our webinar for this evening. If you have any further questions, please do reach out to your Early Learning Coalition, or you may send questions to oel.questions@oel.myflorida.com. I'll repeat that. You may email any questions about school readiness program assessment to oel.questions@oel.myflorida.com.